Hey everybody, this is Mike from Mike's Dark Helmet Minecraft server. I wanted to take some time and teach you all Worldedit. Unfortunately, I don't have time to go with everybody to the private test server and teach you Worldedit, which I'd love to do, but the demands of being me, unfortunately, I don't really have that time. So I figured a nice new tutorial video on several different topics would help out. So I'll get started. Worldedit is a way of making mass changes to blocks. And as a moderator of a server, it's extremely handy and it can be efficient. Now, we've eliminated a lot of what we actually do for our moderators, but it is still required for lead for you to know and understand how to use Worldedit. Worldedit is something that could be very dangerous if used incorrectly. So it's something that I actually, or an admin on our server, has to test you on to make sure that you understand this. So here's an example. You don't need Worldedit locally. You do not need it. It's very helpful to have it because that gives you a place to practice safely. But at least for Dark Helmet server, this is why we have a test server so that moderators can go there and practice their Worldedit. But I do recommend getting this Worldedit visualizer. This is what's adding these green and red lines everywhere. This allows me to actually see my Worldedit selection. Now the benefit of this is that I am confident that I know what I'm actually messing with. Sometimes people click once and they go somewhere else and just by accident they click again. Now they think that they've just made, a smaller selection, but what this really does is it goes from the place that you last did your left click, not from the place you last did your right click. So it's important to know. So I'll do a better selection here. Let's say I click there and then I do a selection there, but now I want to go over here and I do that and then I just accidentally do the left again thinking I've made two selections. What I really end up getting is this. Now, people have unfortunately wiped out large chunks of a map by not having a way of knowing this. So I really recommend you get this. It's the Worldedit visualizer. If you go to Minecraft forums, it's posted on there as a mod. I think it's called the Worldedit CUI, client user interface. Okay, so we left click, and on the opposite corner of a square we right click, and this gives us our two selection points. Between this is our selection. This is what we're going to be interacting with. Now, Worldedit commands always start with two forward slashes. So the first one I'm going to show you is set. If I say set 1, 1 is the data value for stone. It's going to turn everything in my selection to stone. I could also have typed in set stone. Typing in set 1 is more efficient for me. So I could also say set 89. That gives us some nice glowstone, but that's not what we want. So we can type undo. Undo will reverse the changes that you made, and if you keep doing it, it will keep reversing the changes that you made till you end up with what you originally had. Now on our server, this is limited by 15 times, so you can't go more than 15 back. So please realize your mistakes before you go more than 15 away. So let's say that we need to clear out an area. We need to make it flat so that somebody can build a town. Now, this is not something that we do anymore, at least on our server, but it's still important knowledge to have. We've got the selection now. It covers this whole area. Now there's, a variety of terrain, but you can see from the selection that I'm not including everything. If I do set 0, which will actually wipe out all of this because that's error, it won't work. I need to get everything. So there's an expand command. If I could type in expand 10 north, south, east, west, up or down. Expanding the selection in the direction that I chose. Now if you don't type a direction, it's just going to assume you meant the direction you are looking. So I'll do expand 10 up. Now that definitely includes everything that we are actually going to clear out, and then some. So now that I have a selection, I can type set 0 or set air. Air and 0, those are blocks, but they're not blocks you can ever place. You can't get those in game, but that's what we use to clear out things. So now I end up with this sort of ugly big square that's been carved out, and we'll worry about that later. But I'll make a selection there, and I'll come over here and make another selection. Now this is the floor, and a lot of times people want you to do this. They'll say just do set 2. That gives you the grass. That's a great way of doing it. Grass looks great, doesn't it? But let's say that you're not working with just flat land. Let's say you come over here and you're working with, got a little laggy there. Let's say that you make a selection here and you want to make this all flat. Here's the issue right away. You're not covering all the way down to the water. So you could say expand to down. See how it brings the selection down to the water? Now I can say set 0. That carves out this area. But I don't want this dirt and stone and gravel or whatever else happens to be exposed. But I don't want to do this either. That just looks awful. You're covering your water. It's not good. So what can we do? How do we keep this? There's a replace command. You can say replace 3 with 2. That replaces dirt, which is 3, with 2, which is grass. Or you could say replace dirt, grass, not glass. Now, in this case, almost everything that we had was dirt. But what if you have lots of stuff? You have iron ore or coal or all this stuff showing that shouldn't be there. We got the sand and we've got some stone. Well, if you just leave out the second, you just say replace grass. This is going to replace everything that is not air or water. What did we do there? Wow, that broke. What happened there? Wow, I have never seen that break before. That is totally bizarre. Okay then. Nice. I'm sure that that certainly did find the right time to fail. Alright, well, whatever. Normally, that's what we use to keep the terrain. Let's do it over here. Maybe it's just water that's causing a glitch. That's what we do to keep the terrain curved. So let's expand 10 up, set 0. Now let's come down here. Now let's just pretend that this edge here is what you do not want to replace. We can just say replace 2. There we go. Everything that was not air was replaced. We still maintain the edge, but everything that was back here is now grass. All right. So let's say you want to make a small sidewalk. You can make your selection, say set 98. That's stone brick. We still have it selected. Excuse me. But now what we'd like to do is we'd like to make a tunnel. We'd like to, maybe not a tunnel, but we'd like to clear out this area and make a nice walkway. What you might be tempted to do is make a selection there, come all the way over here, make another selection, try clearing it, setting it all 98, but that's just too much. So we'll select this original area. Now we'll expand it, let's say 5 up. Now why would we do that though? There's nothing up here. Just air. Well, remember when we replace something with air, what's going to happen is it's going to have the effect of removing it. So there's another command called stack. When I type stack 20 and without giving it any direction, it will stack my selection. It will repeat my selection in the direction I am looking. So it stacked that little sidewalk 20 times in this direction. But notice how the dirt above it was removed. This was why I had selected the air above it. That way you can create a nice tunnel, you could create a nice walkway, clear out any trees as far as you want. But let's say we want to get more creative with it. Let's get one of those, and this is going to be an ugly sidewalk, but yeah, let's do it this way. Yeah, there we go. We'll make it even uglier. So let's say that we want this torch to that. Now we're going to stack this, but the problem is we don't want this to repeat everywhere. We only want the sidewalk to repeat everywhere. But if you notice our selection, we're not even including the sidewalk. So I need to do expand one down. There we go. Now it's got that line before it. Hi, Cal. But now if I do a stack, I'm going to repeat just this one section everywhere. That means I'm just going to have a whole row of torches on both sides. I don't want that. I can do expand 4. This creates a gap between where this repeats. So when this repeats, this block will actually go here. So let's expand it up a bit. Expand 5 up. We'll stack it a bit. Say stack 20. There we go. We got a nice, really long walkway that looks ugly. All right, so that's stack. Now, let's say that you are going to make a box. You can use something like this. Walls 89. Walls is going to create the block not everywhere in your selection, but just on the outsides. That way you actually end up with walls. So if I expand this 10 up and do walls 89, there we go. Nice little walled building. Now, we won't go into these, but there are also options for making floors and roof. You don't really need this on our server either. So when people are doing townie plots or faction plots, you most likely, especially if you have this visualizer, you've been to do this. You need to help them find the plot. Well, where is it? When you type chunk, Worldedit is going to highlight the chunk that you are currently standing in. The big problem is I've seen people do this, walls 50. What that's going to do is put torches on the walls of the plot, but the failure in judgment there is that the selection is not just this 16 by 16 area. It goes all the way up and all the way down to bedrock. When you put torches on the walls, it's going to put a torch here and here and here and here, all the way up and all the way down. First of all, that's going to lag you out like crazy because torches do that. But it's going to lag really hard when it realizes there's nothing to attach a torch to on all of these blocks. Those torches are all going to fall down into the area, and the server is usually going to lag to death. Now, let's say you did have a bunch of torches. Let's throw some things out. You've got these things that are floating around you. Those are called entities. When you do remove drops 20, that's going to remove any drops that are within a 20 block radius of you. So if you ever do the walls torch by accident, always do remove drops 20. That'll help clear it up, get rid of some of the lag. So what do we do if we don't, we need the chunk, but we don't want the whole 128 by 128. Here's what I do. By placing a block at either side, I can now select these blocks. As soon as I make a new selection, I lose the visual of what the chunk was. But now that I have that selection, I see my chunk. It's now only one level. So I am safe to say walls 50. And now I have torches outlining the entire plot. Now, rather than doing this again for plots that are next to each other, you could just stack 3 in a row. Now, if I come over here, highlight our chunk, what do you know? We've got our whole chunk highlighted. Now, the fun part is, say replace 220. Look at that. Replace 320. Whoops. Or we can just do replace 20 and see all the way down to bedrock. Oh, look at that. Somebody's already made some glass down there. What do you know? Or no, that was a cave. I see. That was a cave. I can see the edges. All right. Okay, so with Worldedit, when we make a selection, there are also some commands like overlay. What that's going to do is it's going to place the block that you requested on top of whatever's in the selection. So you can see all these deviations here. That's from the grass. We don't use overlay that much. In fact, I don't even know if we've used overlay ever on the server. If you've made new plots and notice there's a lack of trees, you can use this one, Forest Gen 20. This is going to create a large forest with the radius that you give it. If you're trying to take down an entire forest, you could always just clear out all the trees. Let's say you wanted to keep the log so that you could actually axe that and keep it. We could always make a selection, and we can always remove the leaves, but that requires making a selection. So there's a command called remove near, and I'm not exactly sure what the default radius of this is. Oh, never mind. We give the radius here. So I can say remove leaves 20. That will remove all leaves or whatever block you specify in the radius given. So now here's a bunch of just plain logs. You can go ahead and start axing those down yourself. I use that every once in a while when I don't want to wait for those saplings to drop if I don't care about those. So there's a lot more to Worldedit. There's generating spheres. There's using brushes. This is stuff that I don't even know if we ever have used these on the site. Maybe, or sorry, on the server. Maybe once or twice have we generated a dome for somebody, but we really don't do Worldedit anymore. But the important things for Worldedit you mainly already have, and you're probably already familiar with, but I'll just cover them really quickly. And those are for when you're dealing with a grief or some issue. So first of all, let's say this water was here and it shouldn't be. We have drain and then a radius. Drain will work on both lava and water. So if you need to get water out, here we go. Let's say somebody griefed. Let's pretend that they placed the water here and we couldn't just cover that up. We just say drain 20, get rid of all that water, fix it up. But then we have an issue where, high NPC, let's find a water bucket. No, we don't even need a water bucket. Let's just get water. Let's say you're placing water and you get this ugliness. There isn't always an easy way to fix that, especially for a larger area. So there's a fix water, and what that'll attempt to do is raise water in the area, the radius that you give it, to the height, to the average height of the area around it. So we use that quite a bit. And when somebody has set something on fire, which I guess I got rid of, hey, check it out. I'll just use real fire. When somebody has set a block on fire and you need to come and extinguish it, we have the EX command, and that will extinguish the blocks, and you can continue with your hawk. So this is, the real extreme basics of Worldedit. There's more that you can do, but as far as working with Worldedit on our server, these are really all you're going to be using. Clearing land, maybe planting some trees, removing some trees, maybe there's a grief that you need to fix, and for whatever reason, it's not common at all, but if Hawk doesn't work, you could always, set something, repair it for somebody, or create walls for somebody. The only thing that's really difficult, and this is something that only the server owner will do, is copy and paste. Um, at least on our server, I never copy and paste somebody's building when they ask. The only way I would copy and paste something is when I have a legitimate reason to move it. Copy and paste is very difficult because you need to copy the object in the same orientation and direction. You need to paste it in the same orientation as direction as where you had copied it from. And unless you really, are OCD about keeping track of where was I, which direction was I facing, where was I in relation to the entire object I'm copying, and then translate that properly into where you are, which direction you're facing, and which way you rotate what you're copying, you could end up messing up a lot of stuff. So we don't ever do that. So that's Worldedit. If you have a chance to practice this on your single player, please do. For those moderators who are on our server, you do have access to the test server to kind of go nuts and practice. Worldedit is something that we will test you on, and what I covered here is what I will usually test on in the actual lead mod test. So this should be of great help. Thanks for watching.